Welcome back to another episode here on the Crash Out League TV. It is your host, A Dub, and I'm with my co-host, Manny Boy. And man, welcome back to the last 2 weeks here in this league. And if it's the last 2 weeks in this league, you already know it's championship weeks. That means we are down to two teams. Two teams moved on to the championship, and two teams went home. Know what I mean? And we're gonna get into that a little later, announce that to you guys. But let's go ahead and hop into it, man.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm going to pull up these scores for us, man. Like he's talking about, it is championship week. Two Titans remain. But it's not maybe who you're thinking of if you're following throughout the season. You see there, that is the championship match in front of you. Team Luck taking down Smooth Criminal, had a great run into the playoffs, but eventually got bounced out by the man who is at the top spot and has been pretty much at the top spot for the entire season. And MoCity Menace taking down Free Wave Mike, taking down Coach Mike, and God Bless America. That one, we said it could go either way. We said it could have gone either way in that matchup, and sure enough, it did. MoCity Menace taking the win, big time, 164 to get him there. Folks, there is your championship matchup. Is the man at the top, Team Luck, taking on MoCity Menace, the man who's been pretty much a menace the entire season, knocking down teams left and right, and did the same thing when he got into the playoffs. So it's going to be really exciting to see that matchup. Again, both coaches have been putting up high points all season long. So nonetheless, it's going to be a high-scoring affair. And I think really it goes without saying, I think these are probably the best two teams in the league, arguably, of course, because there are some other teams that have a say in that. But I think definitely one of the best two teams in the league.
I mean, I think you got it right. I mean, it's championship week and they the last two standing. If that don't scream the top two teams in the league, I don't know what else would. These coaches been putting up big numbers consistently all season. So it's kind of not a surprise, when we say at the end who made it to the championship round. I understand, it's not a surprise for Coach Luck being on one team, taking out the Cinderella story of Smooth Criminal. But you honestly shouldn't be too surprised about the number 4 team in MoCity Menace taking out God Bless America over there at number 2 because, like we said last week, they both could put up numbers. It's just going to come
Right.
down to who's going to show up and who's not, But shout out to both of those coaches making it to the next round. Now, before we continue, the commish has sent in the results for the awards this season. Now, mind you, before we pull these results up, it all is based off the regular season. None of this is based off what's been going down in the playoffs, because that could use some persuasion. All these results is based off coaches in this league, all around this league, deciding on these awards. So let me go ahead and pull that up for you guys. So, like I said, commission sent it over. Crash Out Season Awards, man. Let's go ahead and get it started. So,
Absolutely.
first off, go ahead, Manny.
So we have Coach of the Year. Three coaches up for Coach of the Year. It is Coach Lucky, it is Coach Mike, and it is Team Fabo with Coach Fabian. And I think any of these three teams probably could have had a say at this. Really.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
they worked extremely hard throughout the entire season, but it can only be one. Who is our Coach of the Year in the 2024 Crash Out season?
It can only go to one coach, and that one coach is the coach that's been dominating all season. And that's Coach Lucky over there at Team Luck. Congratulations.
Naturally, this one goes to Team Luck and Coach Lucky. Again, when you put up dominating performances week in and week out, pretty hard to say you're not Coach of the Year. So big shout out to that organization and to that coach. Well deserved. Well deserved. Hey, Dub, who do we got next?
We got Draft Day Guru. Here is where, it's given to the coach that everybody around the league feel like the first day that we came into this league on draft day, the decision that they made helped them throughout the whole season. Now, we're not talking about who they picked up along the way. We're talking about the original guys that they drafted. Who had the best original guys lined up for the season to get them to the point that they did at the end of the regular season? And the nominees for that was Coach Luck with Team Luck, Coach Mike with Team GBK, and Coach A Dub with the Smooth Criminal. Now, it can only come down to one coach once again, Manny. You know what I mean? So
Absolutely.
the coach that pulled it out that everybody thought had the best draft day to help them get to the point they did was none other than Smooth Criminal with Coach A Dub. Congratulations.
Congratulations. Congratulations.
All right, Manny, what we got next?
Yes, sir. Waiver wire wizard, the man who is always checking the waiver wire, always finding the right players to get him that extra win that he needed, or really just those points that put you over the top of your opponent. We got 3 teams, 3 coaches. Coach Lucky. We have Coach Barlow from Mills Mafia, first time nominated. And then, of course, we have Coach Fabian, who we talked about previously before. The winner of this year's waiver wire wizard goes to Team Fabo and Coach Fabian over there getting it done and really just been on the waiver wire at all times, making sure he can pick up the right guy.
Yes, sir, indeed. Yes, sir, indeed. Now, for the next award that's out here listed is Mr. Impact Award. And this goes to the coach whose decisions were brilliant all season long and had the most significant influence on the playoff race or the league standings throughout the season. Now, that could be whether just going and taking down big time teams or consistently winning games where other teams should be winning and just disrupting the whole flow in the standings. Now, we had a lot of that throughout the
Absolutely.
whole season.
Definitely.
Now,
Yep.
when it comes down to the last week of the regular season and 9 teams are still competing, that's a hell of a league right there. So anybody can be Mr. Impact Award. So the
Definitely.
nominees for that is Coach Fabian, Team Fabo, Coach A Dub for Smooth Criminal, Coach MB from Shake and Bake, and Coach Barlow for Mills Mafia. Once again, it can only come down to one coach, and that one coach is Coach MB for Team Shake and Bake. Congratulations. Congratulations.
Wonderful job. Wonderful job. Now we move on to our next. It's the Standing on Business Award. And there's been plenty of teams that have stood on business this entire season. Of course, you see there once again the man at the top, Team Luck with Coach Lucky. MoCity Menace making his first appearance here with Coach Preach. Team Fabo with Coach Fabian, and Mills Mafia once again with Coach Barlow. All these teams stood on business, got work done. But there's one specific name that they talked it, but they also backed it up at the same time. And this Standing on Business Award goes to none other than MoCity Menace and Coach Preach out there in the championship round. Congratulations to him. He talked the talk and he backed it up. Had a little spat back and forth with Coach Cam, and he packed it up and got the win. So Standing on Business goes to Coach Preach. Congratulations to that organization and that coach over there.
Man, it could be no other. Like you said, he talked it, he walked it, and he backed it up. Come on now. Let's go ahead and keep it going. We got Ricky Coach of the Year. Now, this don't need no introduction. This doesn't need no description. You know what it is. And the 3 coaches that's up for that debate is Coach Cam with Team Fuck 'em, Coach MB with Team Shake and Bake, and Coach Fabian with Team Fabo. I just want to say all 3 of these coaches had a successful
Absolutely.
season
Definitely.
for being a rookie coach here in the Crash Out League. It's honestly hard for people to decide who should get it, but it can only be one. And that one coach who won this award this season for being the coach, the best rookie coach this season, is Coach Fabian from Team Fabo. Congratulations. I mean,
Congratulations.
he's the only coach that made it into the playoffs as a rookie and competed in the first round. Unfortunately, was booted out of the first round. But the fact that he was a rookie coach and was able to get in when veterans wasn't, that's the reason why he won rookie coach of the year.
Listen, all three of those coaches, they made this league so much more competitive. Again, you talk about there's 9 teams fighting for a playoff spot going into the final week of the regular season. Shout out to those coaches. That makes number 2 for Coach Fabian. 2 awards on the night. Congratulations to him. Now we move on to our comeback coach of the year. This coach silenced critics, overcame adversity, or maybe a rough start, and delivered huge performances when they mattered most. Again, we talked about it all season, but there are a lot of injuries this year, unfortunately, and you just had to find a way to be able to adapt and figure out, okay, what's my next step? Do I trade? Do I hold on? Do I try to find somebody on the waiver? So all three of these coaches did exactly that, but only one did it to a higher level. Of course, we have Team Fabo and Coach Fabian. We have Smooth Criminal and Coach A-Dub, and then MoCity Menace with Coach Preach. And now the winner, comeback coach of the year, goes to Smooth Criminal and Coach A-Dub. Big time performances got him into the playoffs. 2 back-to-back big time performances got him into the playoffs, winning the last 6 of his last 7. So a big shout out to him getting it done. Now 2 coaches have themselves 2 awards on the night. Congratulations to Coach A-Dub. Much deserved, much deserved, much deserved.
Now, this is where we come to our last award handing out to the coaches here tonight, and that is the biggest upset award. And we had a lot of games to decide from, but the 2 top games that make it to the final round to see who wins this award is between Shake and Bake when he took down Coach Fabian, putting up one of the highest, if not the highest points that week after all the criticism that he doesn't know how to put up points. He wins low scoring games. He figured out a way to play defense against other teams. He found a way to put up major numbers and still was able to compete to get a win to try to help him get into the playoffs.
Yep.
Then you had Team DMV Bombers who took down Team Fuckum when Team DMV Bombers had no wins on the season. This was the first win that they got on the season. Therefore, people decided that this was the time to acknowledge that. But it all is going to come down to one game between both of them. And that one game is Team Shake and Bake taking down Team Fabo to go ahead and put up major points that nobody thought that they could. Congratulations to both of those coaches putting up a great showing in that week and winning this award, the biggest upset of the week. Yeah, absolutely. And I believe that's Team Shake and Bake's second award right there. Yeah, congratulations.
Congratulations to all coaches who won an award here at tonight's award ceremony. We really appreciate the commitment and the competitiveness that you brought to this league week in and week out. Really, we can't say enough about how great really it all came down to. And now we want to go ahead and acknowledge the players. There are so many wonderful players who had a great season. Some maybe not so great of a season. So nonetheless, A-Dub, kick it over to him, who really are our first and second teams. Who do we got?
Gotcha. So we're going to start off announcing our second team, all Crash Out Goonies. Voted on the coaches all around the league, just to let everybody know. So first we're going to start off with our QB. Second team, all Crash Out Goonies goes to Josh Allen over there at Team GBK. RB1 for second team, all Crash Out Goonies goes to Jamil Gibbs with Coach Fabian at Team Fabo. Our second running back for the second team, all Crash Out Goonies, go to Bijan Robinson with Coach Luck. Second team, all Crash Out Goonies receiver 1, Chris Godwin with Team Luck once again. Despite the missing half of the season, coaches still decided to put him in the second team. Then we got second team, all Crash Out Goonies, wide receiver 2, Justin Jefferson with MoCity Menace.
Okay. Okay.
Second team All Crash Out Goonies tight end, Trey McBride from Mills Mafia. Second team All Crash Out Goonies flex position, David Montgomery from Team Smooth Criminal and Team GBK.
Okay.
Second team All Crash Out Goonies, Texas kicker. I don't know how to say that for a name. It's like Fairview or something like that.
Mills Mafia is
Bro,
gonna get on you for that.
from Team Buckle. Excuse me, I didn't want to mispronounce his name. Then it comes down to the second team All Crash Out Goonies defense, and that is the Minnesota Vikings from Smooth Criminal. Congratulations to all these players who helped their coaches throughout the season. We just wanted to show you guys love and appreciation and hope that you guys continue to stay healthy and keep going as we continue to love the game that we play. Now,
Absolutely.
on to the first team,
Ooh,
All
first
Crash
team.
Out Goonies. Now, these guys here, between the coaches voting, fans voting, commits voting, these are the guys that overall people think are the best at their position. Now, let's go ahead
Absolutely.
and announce that. First, we're going to start off with our quarterback position. Our first team All Crash Out Goonie at quarterback, Lamar Jackson from team running back. First team All Crash Out Goonies running back one, Saquon Barkley from team
Yep.
Shake and Bake.
Yep. That makes sense. Absolutely.
First team All Crash Out Goonies running back two, Derrick Henry from team MoCity Menace. First team All Crash Out Goonies wide receiver one, Jamar Chase from team
Okay.
Fabo.
Okay.
First team All Crash Out Goonies, Amari St. Brown from team GBK. First team All Crash Out Goonies, tight end Brock Bowers from team Mills Mafia.
Wow. Okay.
First team All Crash Out Goonies, Chuba Hubbard from Team Fabo at the flex position. First team All Crash Out Goonies, Brandon Aubrey, kicker, Smooth Criminal. First team All Crash Out Goonies, defense, Steelers from Team DMV Bombers.
There you
Congratulations
go.
to all these
There you
players
go. Wonderful.
around the
Wonderful.
league that made it this the best experience here in this league. I mean, I can't see nothing wrong with this. I think the everybody around the league got everything right. You know, I know some people might have different opinions, but man, it was a hell of a year. I mean, it's hard to decide who get first and who get second and who get left out. What do you think, Manny?
No, definitely. I mean, I think for both of them, they're great lists. I think you have some really great players. Amon-Ra St. Brown is certainly one of the premier receivers in this league. And again, I think it's something really interesting to say though that I think you could argue that those two running backs have had a better season than those two wide receivers. So it's one of those
Sure.
things where really running backs exploded this year. You know, after
Mm-hmm.
the whole conversation of do we really want to pay a running back this much? Do we really want to keep them around for this long? They're really only going to get hurt after a few years. Where this year they've kind of bounced back and they've punched back and said, no, we're important and we matter to a football team. And so shout out to those two running backs. And again, it's really, really difficult at that quarterback position because both of those guys are MVP front runners. I mean, I think it's really going to boil down to Josh Allen or Lamar winning the MVP. So great list. Nonetheless, congratulations to those coaches picking the great players. Congratulations to those players doing what they do best week in and week out on
Yes, sir.
Sunday, Monday, and Thursdays.
Yes, sir.
Now, as we look forward to it, we gotta start thinking about this championship matchup. So before we get to that point, of course, we want to talk to you about what happened during those two games. So the first one, Team Luck, Smooth Criminal. Team Luck really just dominated, to be honest with you. I mean, at one point, Smooth Criminal, they text in the group chat, hey, man, it's over. It's over with. You know, put this one to bed. It's over, ladies and gentlemen. Really. But there were some injuries that happened There were some injuries that really affected that game. A-Dub, go ahead and talk about it, man.
So, it was just some big time players that Smooth Criminal just missed out on for that week, just due to, some things that they just can't control. Missing out on Joe Mixon, who is arguably a top three back here in this league, besides the injury that he got in the beginning of the season, and also not having availability of Terry McLaurin, one of the most consistent receivers here in fantasy that we all know. It's kind of hard to replace those two, like I said last week. Those two alone combined is a 40 to 50 point caliber type of matchups right there. So it's hard to try to find players to substitute in that's going to give you that amount based off, since the trade block has happened and you can't pick up no other players. So you got to go to the waiver wire, and anybody in the waiver wire, it's a dime in a dozen. You know what I mean? You never know if they're going to have a quality game or not enough that's going to
Right.
replicate those 50
Yeah.
points that you missing.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I think the other question to ask is coming into championship week, do you think that Coach Luck can continue to put up these high scores? And is it going to be enough? Because if we see the scores that just happened, that 150 plus that Coach Luck put up wouldn't have been enough to beat
Yeah.
MoCity Menace, who was in the
Yeah.
170s. So
Yeah.
it's one of those things where, do you think he can put up enough points? And do you think, can he still put up the same amount of points? But do you think it's going to be enough?
Honestly, I think if anybody could keep up with Coach Preach and MoCity Menace, it is Coach Luck over there with Team Luck. But like you said, just based off last week, Coach Preach should be up by 10, 15 points going into the second week, and that could be
Yeah.
very significant in
Right.
this 2 week span here in championship week. So Coach Luck gonna have to talk to his guys and step it up, because not only did he not score enough points to outscore Coach Preach, Coach Preach didn't have his number one running back, Derrick Henry, this week. And he's getting him back in these 2 weeks here in the championship week to complete that, the most complete team thing that I said last week. That's going to complete his roster right there with him coming back into the lineup. So even if, he want to switch out James Carter for Isaac Randall, depending on injury this week, it could be hard for Coach Luck to keep up. So he going to have to talk to his guys to be able to keep up with him. I mean,
No,
my question
definitely.
is,
Right.
my question to you is, what do you think? Go ahead.
Yeah, I think I mean, again, we've talked to Coach Luck a lot really throughout the season, and we know the type of coach that he is. With MoCity Menace putting up 170 and not having your number one running back, I think it's one of those things where you're just like, how can you not improve? How can you not stay around there? Again, I think really for this MoCity Menace team, it's about scoring 150 and above. I think that's their floor. That's what they believe is their floor, not their ceiling. They expect to reach the 150s. And so, again, I think it's going to be really difficult for Team Luck to be able to keep up, because MoCity Menace and Coach Freach have put up major points all season long. This isn't a fluke. This isn't a one-off thing. It's just, again, early in the season, they faced a lot of teams who had their best week of the season, if
Yeah.
not, of that week. And so
Mhm.
certainly I think it's going to come down to coaching, but man, putting up 170 and not having Derrick Henry, and it gets wicked. It gets real
Mhm.
wicked. So we'll definitely have to see how that one goes. And of course, talking about MoCity so much, let's go ahead and look at that side of the bracket, how that semifinal game went down. Obviously, MoCity Menace getting the win over number 2 ranked God Bless America. GBK just not putting up the points, really. I mean, we looked at his roster. He had Josh Allen. Josh Allen went for 50.
Yeah.
If he didn't have
Yeah.
Josh Allen, this would have been a much uglier game. I mean, to the
Mask.
point where you could have seen, legitimately, you could have seen MoCity Menace win by 100 points. That's unheard of. That's
Yeah.
insane.
Yeah.
So I don't think this was a fraud performance by MoCity Menace,
Mhm.
And I remember saying when we got into this matchup, what kind of GBK are we going to see? Because there's at one point where Coach Mike and GBK went on a skid of losing. They had a 4 or 5 game losing streak, and they were able to eventually pick it back up. But it's one of those things where what coach were we going to see? And unfortunately, we didn't see the coach that we saw get him to the number 2 spot. Right? We got the coach that unfortunately couldn't put up enough points. So I think Coach Mike, you know, in terms of addressing to his team, just gotta say, guys, look, great season. We got to this point. Obviously, you want to fight for a championship, but that's just not possible. But you still have an opportunity to fight for a draft position, and you want to go out with your head held high and with some class and with some pride. I think for Coach Preach to be able to put up that many points without his number 1 back in Derrick Henry, I think that just gives his team so much more confidence.
So much more.
In going into this championship round.
Yeah. I mean, I can't agree with you no more than that. I mean, no Derrick Henry, and plus Brock Bowers didn't have the best of Sean either, and you still was able to put up high points. Now, if you could just continue to have your guys to put up the points that they did last week, have Brock Bowers pick it up, and Derrick Henry coming back, man, we might be looking at our first 200 team here in this league in one of these championship weeks with everybody confidence up on the high. So shout out to Coach Preach and MoCity Menace, man. I just want to say congratulations to you because to me, you are a favorite, even though you are the number 4 team versus the number 1 team, to me, honestly. But I do want to talk about, we're talking about the matchup between Team Luck and MoCity Menace going to the championship week. Let's talk about roster for roster, bang for bang. Better against better. Let's just go down a list and see between me and you, who do we think has the best lineup when it comes to each one? And I'm gonna name them off to you, and you just let me know
Absolutely.
what's off the top of your head. So, first off, we gotta talk about the quarterback position. The quarterback position, Team Luck, he fluctuates. So I'm gonna name both of them. He got quarterback Joe Burrow and Jordan Love. Then you got MoCity Menace, who runs with Jalen Hurts week in and week out with the touch push. Which one has the better standing in that category?
Yeah. I think there's been a lot of discourse. There's been a lot of talk about Jalen Hurts and his number 1 wide receiver, right? And Jaylen Brown or my apologies. Yes, and his number 1 wide receiver. And the fact that they've kind of been off a little bit. They haven't really been seeing eye to eye. There's been some arguments between them. But on the other side, Joe Burrow's putting up a consistent 30 ball. He's been playing lights out. So for me, in that case, I got to give it to Joe Burrow.
Okay. I'm going to piggyback off you on that one, too. I'm going to also go with Joe Burrow. Only because, they have a losing record right now, and they have to win. And if they have to win, they're going to use their best players, Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase. And if that's the case, Joe Burrow is going to have great numbers all the way to the finish of the season. So I think Jalen Hurts and them are going to get comfortable because they just locked up their spot in the playoffs, and they might start, lessening up the roads so nobody gets injured. Now, let's go on to running backs. Team Luck has a combination of Kyron Williams, Bijan Robinson, and Josh Jacobs at the running back position.
Okay.
And Coach Preach has Derrick Henry and James Conner and Isaac Garendo that he just picked up last week off the waiver wire. Who has the better running back room?
I think you see the name of Derrick Henry, right? And that's like a big one that you draw to. But one thing that we've talked about in this season is the fact that Coach Lucky came into this season saying, I'm done with this whole wide receivers are the most important thing. He specifically drafted these running backs to get to this point, and he's gotten to this point. Again, Bijan Robinson, that offense got better with Kirk Cousins getting there, and then a switch in terms of coaching, and now Bijan is a featured player in that offense. So you take that and you add it with Josh Jacobs, who got out of this situation that was in Las Vegas, you could say arguably in a better situation in Green Bay with a young quarterback who, when things start getting shaky, you got to rely on your run game to be able to open up your passing game. So I think for me, I got to go with that running back room. Derrick Henry's the big hitter. You can't forget about him. Absolutely not. But certainly you feel like there's a bit more of that boom possibility with Coach Lucky's running back room.
Yeah, I don't mean to sound like a broken record that's on repeat, but I'm gonna say the same thing. I'm gonna say Coach Luck has the best running back room, and this is why I say it falls out for Coach Preach and MoCity Menace. Coach Luck has Kyron Williams, a 20-point running back. Josh Jacobs, another 20-point running back. And then he rounds it off with Bijan Robinson, who's been hot the second half of the season, another 20-point running back. Versus MoCity Menace, Derrick Henry, arguably top two, maybe one running back in this league, depending on how the season finishes off.
Right.
Then he has James Conner, who is a little shaky. He could
Yeah.
be 20 point
Yeah.
or he could be a 10 point. And that's where he
Right.
falls off right there. Then he
Right.
has Isaac Orlando, who just showed us he can be a 20-point back in that backfield just based off his predecessor in Jordan Mason, and Christian McCaffrey easily getting those on their own. But the fact that he's injured and they play on Thursday night football is gonna make it very tough for them to compete against that running back room.
Right.
So I'm giving it to Team Love. Now, let's go ahead and talk about wide receiving rooms.
Big time. Yep.
With MoCity Menace, he got Justin Jefferson, JSN, Devontae Adams, and on his bench, he got Jaden Reed and Calvin Ridley. Then we go over to Team Luck. He has Drake London, Jacoby Myers. He also has Lad McConkey, DeAndre Hopkins, Jerry Judy, and Jalen Waddle, who has the best wide receiver room to make a combination for this championship week.
So I think this one definitely goes to Coach Preach. Again, we talked about Coach Lucky, in his sense, has gone all in basically, right? Put all his chips to get himself that running back room. But there has to be a give and take. Something else needs to take a bit of a hit. And I think that's his wide receiver room. Again, Jacoby Myers, again, he's one of those players we talked about with James Scott. He's like that, he can be a very good player. He can get to the numbers, but does he do it on a consistent basis? No, not really. And I think that's the biggest problem. I think that's the biggest problem. Lad McConkey just kind of getting started, in terms of really seeing a lot more touches and things like that. But again, the Chargers are still a run heavy offense. So his numbers are going to be limited in cap. But all that being said, again, I think you go to the other side and you look at Coach Preach, and that's where he excels. And that's why this is going to be such a good matchup. Because you still are in a PPR league. You still have receptions that count for a point, each one that they reel in. So that's where we start kind of getting that evenness, and both these teams really start facing off with each other well, because you have a powerful running back room, but the wide receiver room's a little bit down, and it's pretty much vice versa on the other side.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna just do what the Chiefs trying to do and go for a 3P. And I'm gonna also say MoCity Menace and his wide receiver room. But me, I'm gonna say it's real slight,
Okay.
real small. It's not that big of a gap that most people would think, especially since MoCity Menace is gonna line up with 3 receivers, and Coach Luck is gonna line up with only 2. Now, this is why I say that. MoCity Menace at his receiver position has been boom or mid all season long. Let's talk about Devontae Adams. Devontae Adams is a hell of a receiver, but it all depends on what type of day Aaron Rodgers and him is going to have. We done have seen multiple weeks where Devontae Adams went for single-digit points in fantasy. And if we talk about depending on the wide receiver room heavy, if we're going to play all 3 of them, he's going to need all 3 of them to go consistently for the next 2 weeks. And can you depend on that? I don't really know based off what we seen before last week. So that makes it even slighter for me. Then he also has Jay Jettis. Now don't get me wrong. Don't shoot the messenger. Me personally, since JJ been coming to the league, he's been a top 3 receiver consistently year in and year out. And I think he's been number one in most of the seasons that he's been in this league. But as we see in these last few weeks, if the Vikings are struggling, Justin Jefferson is going to struggle as well. And to have 2 receivers who depend on a quarterback who offenses be struggling a little bit depending on who they playing, it's kind of hard to just give it to MoCity Menace in my opinion. But at the end of the day, those players are who they are, so I give it to them in the slightest competition.
Yeah.
Now, let's go ahead and talk about the tight end position. Brock Bowers, MoCity Menace. George Kittle, Team Luck. I think this is the most interesting debate. Me personally, I think it's gonna come down to who has the business right here at this position. Your thoughts?
Yeah. This is certainly one of those that you can say, okay, well, Coach Luck's running back room is going to cancel out Preach's wide receiver room. Okay, cool, fine. But then you still have a couple other key pieces, and that surely comes down to the tight end spot. This is going to be really interesting because Brock Bowers is a very good tight end,
Very good.
but again, it's one of those boom or bust type of players where how much faith can you really put in to that Las Vegas offense, right? But on the other side, it really feels like if the 49ers don't have Brock Purdy, the 49ers are not the 49ers.
Mm.
And that's a big time problem as well. And at the same time, we've seen George Kittle have to get on the line to block. And so it really comes down to what are the coaches of those teams, of the 49ers and of the Raiders, thinking when they start building their game plan? Is this guy going to be a focal point, or is he going to kind of take a back seat? And so I think just because he's starting to get hot a little bit and he's making more of a name for himself, I'm going to go with Brock Bowers on this one. Because again, if this was, best on best, as in George Kittle had all his weapons and Brock Bowers had all his, I'd go with Kittle. But because there's injuries, because it's been somewhat of a down season for the Niners, I got to go with Brock Bowers on this.
Okay, I think that's where we're gonna part ways on the whip
Okay.
right here. I'm gonna go with Coach Luck with George Kittle. Now, I say this because I don't know if you know this information yet, Manny, but Brock Bowers just lost Aiden O'Connell to a season-ending injury. Now, I
Okay.
don't know how much that's going to affect them because we all know usually when the backups come in or the backups come in, they
They
depend on
love
the
the
tight
tight end.
ends even
They
more.
love the
You
tight
know
end.
what I
Yep.
mean? So
Yep.
it all just depends on who's the quarterback coming in and who they're going to want to depend on. But since we don't know about that and that's shaky, I'm going to go with George Kittle. Now, not only is the injuries a factor here, Brock Bowers also played the Atlanta Falcons, who has the best lineup when it comes to going against tight ends. They've been holding big time tight ends to single digit fantasy points all season long
Yeah.
versus George Kittle walking into LA playing the Rams, who defense struggle against tight ends. So I'm gonna go with Coach Luck with George Kittle. I think he has the advantage,
Okay.
even if we just
Yeah.
talk about this week.
Absolutely.
Now, let's talk about the flex position.
Okay.
Now, the flex position can really go hand in hand in what we're talking about when we talk about running backs and receivers. Because, like I listed, they either are heavy in one area or the other. Either Coach Luck gonna put one of those 3 running backs that I just named in that flex position,
Right.
or Coach Preach is gonna put one of those 3 receivers in that flex position. So I
Right.
guess it's just simply asking, which side are you on? Are you in on the side of the idea of running backs being the new in fantasy? Or are we sticking with wide receivers in the PPR league?
Yeah. I think the way this one goes is gonna kind of change how people think about either running backs or wide receivers in this league for a long time, because that's what it's going to come down to is Are you sticking with wide receivers or are you going with running backs? And I think because for MoCity Menace, like you talk about, for Devontae Adams, it depends on what day Aaron Rodgers is going to have, how he feels that day. And Justin Jefferson, it's like, are they going to get him the ball? I know they're going to try to get him the ball, but can they actually get it to him is the biggest problem. Where on the other side, we talk about those three running backs are all 20-plus running backs, week in and week out. So I got to go with Coach Luck on this one just because of the fact that there's more certainty on that side of the ball with him and those running backs who are consistent week in and week out.
Yeah, I just think some of y'all can learn from this. Sometimes when you break up and separate and learn some things, you can always come back and get together. So I'm gonna go ahead and come back with Manny, and I'm gonna agree with him. I'm gonna go with Team Luck and his running back idea of putting more running backs than receivers. And I think Coach Luck is definitely, if not already there, going to push the agenda even more through these 2 weeks. That hey, running backs isn't something that you should wait on no more. Running backs are first round ballots. You're going to want
Right.
a good running back in your lineup next season when you do this draft again. It's no longer like, let's get our receivers, maybe let's get a quarterback, and then let's think about running back. I think people minds are going to change based on what Coach Luck has done all season and what he's finna do. So I'm gonna go with Coach Luck. Now,
Yeah.
we're gonna put these two rooms together.
Okay.
Kicker and defense, special
Okay.
teams.
Okay. Yep.
We got MoCity Menace, who has Bass, the kicker from Buffalo, and the Jets defense with Coach Luck, who has Sanders, Miami kicker, and he also has the Cardinals defense. Now, it could fluctuate. They could change at any moment, just depending on matchup, which both coaches do. But
Right.
based off that, what do you got?
Man, that's tough. I think this kind of comes down to when it comes to kickers, right? It boils down to weather and where they're going to play. Buffalo's getting cold and Buffalo's snowing a lot.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that can really affect your kicking game. Whereas down in sunny Miami, right, you're booting these things like it's nothing.
Yeah.
So on the kicker side, I know we're cutting these together, but I'm gonna split this back into half.
Okay,
On the
talk to
kicker
me. Talk to
side,
me.
I gotta go with Miami. I gotta go on that side just because of the fact that, again, weather's gonna become a factor. And when Buffalo's getting all these blizzards, I think you'd much rather, if it's a 4th and 5, I think you'd much rather go for it because nobody's going to kick a field goal from their side of the field. So you're already past the 50 at this point. I think you'd much rather go for it and try a run and hope they're just going to slip off your running back and you pick up the first down instead of trying to take that 35, 40-yard field goal in the blizzard, in the snow. Whereas, again, in sunny Miami, man, yeah, we just got into field goal range. We didn't make it. Send the field goal unit out. So in terms of opportunities alone, I got to go ahead and I got to go with Miami. And I believe that's with
That is with Team Luck.
that's with Team Luck. So Team Luck gets the advantage on the kicker side.
Gotcha.
For defense, I think I got to go with the Jets. The Jets defense has been tested time in and time out this year. Again, that offense hasn't been as powerful as they hoped for. So the defense has been on the field a whole lot. So I think as much as when you break this down into a fantasy sense, as much as you can say, yeah, but the more times the defense is on the field, the more times they have an opportunity to get scored on. Yeah, but the more times they have an opportunity to score points also.
Yeah.
So I got to go with the Jets defense on this side.
Yeah, it's not easy to talk about this position because anything can happen in special teams.
Yeah.
I mean, punt returns could be taken back. People could fumble on kick return. I mean, the kicker could decide today I'm making no 50-yarders. And then the offense just decides no more kicks. We're going for 4th downs. We're going for 2-point conversions. You just never know what can happen. But when it comes down to the kicker position, the way I look at it is the offense in total, like a whole. Who can
Gotcha.
push the ball down the field and put up points? And when I think of Buffalo versus Miami, I mean, we all seen that game.
Yeah,
Buffalo
yeah, yeah,
dominated.
yeah.
So
Absolutely.
I'm gonna go with the Buffalo's kicker just because the fact Josh Allen is gonna get the ball down the field, and you will have more opportunities to kick field goals than I think Miami would do pushing down the field for him to kick field goals. So I'm gonna go with
Okay.
the
Yeah,
Buffalo kicker.
yeah. Smart
Then
pick.
for defense, just based off who they have right now, like I said, they might change them, but the Jets versus Cardinals, it is no debate. The Cardinals have no defense. They can't stop a nosebleed. Let me tell you that right now. Just last week, Manny, they went for -1 points on defense
Woo.
in fantasy. And you know why? You know why? Let me tell you. They allowed 30 points put
Stat
on
man,
them by the
stat man.
Seattle Seahawks. 30 points. So there's
Yeah.
no way that I'm going with the Cardinals. And I hope there's no way Coach Luck is going with the Cardinals this week. Do not trust them. If you're listening to me right now, Coach, do not trust them this week. Pick somebody else up for the love of God. You know what I mean? Oh,
Listen, again, because we know that this is going to be a high scoring affair, because these two teams can really get after it. I think that is the most important thing. Is it's going to come down to these positions that maybe people overlook. You know, the tight end, the running back, or the tight end, the defense, the kickers. These are what's going to be the difference probably if you win in the championship or you not. Because again,
true.
that Cardinal defense goes negative, you go negative.
You go negative.
And that means you dropping points. And that 1 point difference, it could be a difference of 1 point. And that's all you need. That's all you need to kiss your championship hopes goodbye. I think both coaches really got to lock in, really got to focus. I think really, even if you're like, man, I've been with this team for a long time in terms of defense, see if somebody else is available on that wire and say, you know what? I like their matchup a lot more than this matchup that they got going on right now. And say, cool, let's go for it. Let's do it. So I really like this matchup, but yeah, man, both coaches, big shout out to you guys. But take a look at these positions. It might be the difference between you winning and losing.
Nah, for sure. Negative points, we don't need them.
No,
So let's go ahead. Let's dive into our favorite segment that we love talking about, and that's the NFL picks. Where we go in, we pick 3 games, and we decide who's gonna win what. Now, before I announce the games that we have listed for today, I do want to announce me and Manny are at a tie right
woo,
now. Going into the last 2 weeks between us and picking NFL games, we are both 24-13
yes,
on the
sir.
season. So we decided to challenge ourselves between ourselves. Who gonna have the best record after we finish with our last video with you guys, since we are both tied at the moment. So the games that we have listed, we have Dolphins versus the Texans Sunday 12 p.m. Central, Bills versus Lions Sunday 3:25 p.m. Central, and Steelers versus Eagles 3:25 p.m.
Woo.
Central Time on Sunday.
Yep.
Now, it's hell of a games this week. It could go either way, Betty. But go ahead and get us started with the Dolphins versus Texans game. What's your ideas?
Dolphins, Texans, man, back in H Town. I think I'm gonna go with the Texans in this one.
Mm,
Sunday, 12 p.m. Central Time. I think I like the Texans in this one again. We talked about that Dolphin offense not being good enough to get maybe into the end zone, but possibly will be good enough Sunday to get themselves threes, but threes are much less than 6 in the game of football. So definitely I got to go with the Texans on this first round.
yeah, I think I'm gonna go ahead and piggyback off you when it comes to this game right here. I just think the Texans coming off a bye week, getting a rest. They got to understand their identity once again after been struggling towards the end, towards
Yeah,
their bye week.
yeah.
And I just think Since it's at home, they're gonna have too much grit, too much grind to come out explosive. Nico Collins got another rest day. CJ Stroud got enough time to regroup.
Right.
And not
Right.
only that, I believe they linebacker Aziz, who is potentially getting suspended for the late hit on Trevor Lawrence, I
Right.
think
Yeah.
they upheld it and they took it back. So he'll be playing
Wow.
in this
That's a big time.
game.
Yeah,
And
that's big time.
after receiving all the criticism and all the bashing, I think that's going to motivate him to play his best game
Yeah.
against the Dolphins. So I'm going to ride with the Texans. Now,
Yeah. Yeah.
when it comes down to the Bills versus Lions, what are your thoughts?
This is the big one. I mean, this is arguably the biggest game of the week. I don't. It's obviously two high-powered teams going at each other, but I'll tell you this: I've been a Dan Campbell fan since day one. So give me the Lions
Talk to
taking
him.
down the Bills in this one. Again, they're
Okay.
at home. That place gets loud, man. I mean, they are some passionate fans up there in Detroit. I'm gonna go ahead and take the Lions in this one. I think Jared Goff stays hot. Amon-Ra St. Brown stays Amon-Ra St. Brown, and it's the combination of Sonic and Knuckles in that backfield for me. So go ahead and give me the Lions in this one. Hey, Dub, what you thinking, man?
Hey man, this is what we gonna split up right here.
All
This is
right,
gonna be
okay,
my
here we go.
decision making game
Okay, here
right
we
here.
go.
This is gonna be the first game that I'm gonna put my foot down to make a decision to get ahead of you. So with
All right.
that being said, I am riding with the Buffalo Bills and Josh Allen to go into Detroit and get a win. Now listen, they just came off an unfortunate L against the Rams. But in that game, it was 44-42, a high scoring game. And Josh Allen was the reason why it was high scoring because him alone, he went, put his foot in the ground, and went to go get it,
Yeah.
drive in and drive out. Now, they are now in a position where they're a game behind Kansas City. Now, in the new format in the playoffs in NFL, only the first team gets the bye week. So, because of that, I think they can't afford another loss, especially since they have the head to head against the Kansas City Chiefs.
Right. Right.
So, I think they go into Detroit knowing it's a must win to hope that Kansas City still loses at some point throughout the season so they could go ahead and take the number one spot. And this is a bounce back game for the Buffalo. So I'm going with the Bills.
Okay.
So
All right. All right. All
for our
right.
last game, Manny, it's between the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Philadelphia Eagles. Now, the Pittsburgh Steelers are 10-3. And the Eagles are 11-2. One of the best teams in the AFC going head to head this week, Manny. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, this is classic, right? AFC, NFC going at it with each other, two of the best teams. Man, see this is hard, but I think I gotta say that I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna take the Eagles in this one. If this was in the
Mm,
Steel City, if we was in Pittsburgh, if we was out there, man, I would have to take the Steelers. But because the Eagles are home, I think Saquon's gonna continue to run like Saquon.
yep.
Go ahead and give me the Eagles in this one.
You know what? I'm gonna go ahead and rejoin you on my back door, and I'm gonna pick the Eagles. Now
All right. So
I'm going.
one game to split us. One game to
Yep.
split us.
One game. I'm gonna go with the Eagles because not only are they dominant on our offensive ball side, they also been looking pretty good on the defensive side. Besides, some situations get the Panthers last week. But when it came down to it, on a play that they need to have, Darius Slay stepped up to the plate, held Adam Thielen, and knocked the ball away to end the game. And that's the type of defense the Eagles has been all season long. Not only because of that, the Steelers may be missing George Pickens again this week. Last week he didn't play because he has a hamstring problem, and we all know hamstring problems just don't come and go.
No,
We
they don't.
had Mike Evans who missed 4 weeks throughout the season. Years ago, Christian Watson, he missed like 7, 8 weeks throughout the season. And this just happened to George Pickens just last week. So there's no telling when he's going to be able to come back, especially since they are in a playoff position. I don't think they'll rush him back just for this game. So it's a good chance that he might miss it. So I'm going to go with the Eagles with that factor being in mind. So,
All right. All right. Those are your games of the week, folks. Make sure you tune in once again. Dolphins Texans Sunday, 12 p.m., 1 p.m. Eastern Time. Bills and Lions Sunday, 3:25 p.m. Central Time, 4:25 p.m. Eastern Time, and then finally Steelers versus Eagles, 3:25 p.m. Central Time, 4:25 p.m. Eastern Time. A-Dub, sign us out, big man.
hey, appreciate y'all for tuning in to another episode here in the Crash Out League TV, especially if you made it to this point to hear this announcement. We appreciate y'all from the bottom of our hearts, and we hope that we entertained y'all enough to leave a like or a comment or hit the subscribe button. Whatever you feeling generous, hit all three. But
Please, that'd be great. Thank you. Please do it.
that would be great. But, with that being said, we going into championship week. We have 2 weeks left in the season. They both going to be fought between MoCity Menace with Coach Preach and Team Luck with Coach Lucky. Now, another thing for you guys to know before we sign out. Year 1, Coach Preach made it to the championship. Lost. Came up short. Year 2, Coach Luck made it to the championship. Came up short. Lost. Went home. Both coaches have made it back to the championship here in year 3. Man. And somebody got to walk away with the Lombardi trophy for the first time.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Let's see how it goes. If you want to know how it goes, come back for the next episode and the episode after that, and where we crown our Crash Out League champion. See you guys next week. Appreciate y'all for tuning in.